I think my dad at that point in his life and my life, he would have been like, well, what did you do? What made him comfortable thinking he could do that with you? And that's just sad.
Mm-hmm.
Because I saw my sister had a teenage pregnancy, and I saw how that was filtered through, and so there was like, I could have been gang raped on the street. I wouldn't have told. I wasn't going to open myself up for that.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of stuff that happened in school, sexual harassment and stuff, and I never told anybody about it.
And
I didn't tell Grandma. I didn't tell anybody at school.
Thank God that girl, whether it was just her personality or her parents had raised her to be secure enough to stand up and say, I'm just glad.
Well, I think now we talk to our kids a lot more about it.
We're more open.
I banged it into Alexis's head, and I'm sure she was like, this stuff doesn't happen. It's just scary stories. But
it does happen. This is
I
proof.
really banged it into her head about this stuff. And growing up, I was never. That wasn't talked about.
I think they felt like back then, if you didn't talk about it, like if you talked about it, you were opening the door to it. It was almost like the big bad you didn't want to call that. So because things like that, people didn't talk about.
I don't remember one time, not in school, not with my grandparents, anybody talking about, well, if a person touches you, if they're inappropriate with you. It was always respect your elders, do what they tell you to do.
Yeah. This is kind of off topic, but not. I saw this post in one of those groups, like Am I the Asshole or whatever, and I want to see what you guys think. So it was like a family thing. Their daughter, they had gone to a family get together, and the daughter was 6. And it was one of those things where they don't spend a lot of time around this side of the family. Like, they don't live near them, so they're not, like, real close. And they've always raised their daughter like, you don't owe anyone affection. Like, if you don't want to give them a hug and a kiss, don't give them a hug and a kiss.
Yeah.
And I agree, because I think, like you said, that we used to be beat to death with the respect your elders, so that, if they said do it, I think a lot of kids fell into that. And I'm sure our parents didn't mean for us to take it. But, when you're told never to question.
Yeah, and I'm sure our parents didn't know that it was as rampant as it was because it wasn't talked about.
Right, because everybody kept it on the down low.
But at the same time, it seems to me like now we've gone completely to the other side.
And we may have gone too far the other way. And that's what but there's got to be a happy medium, because we don't want kids victimized and afraid to speak. And to be fair to my father, I don't know what he would have done. My mom, when I told her later as an adult, she was like, your dad would have killed him. And I was like, well, I was afraid he would kill me, so I wasn't going there.
Me, I'd have killed him.
And well, you weren't in the picture at the time. So anyway, they had gone to this thing, and there was several, it was apparently pre-COVID, because it was a big group, like lots of little kids and lots of families and stuff. And the grandmother was going around near the time that everybody was supposed to leave, and was like, I've got some candy, like a goodie bag or something. Give me kisses and hugs, and I'll give you your candy. And the little girl was like, no, thank you. You can keep your candy. Which I thought was hilarious. Because she didn't know just because it's your grandma, if you're 6 years old and you've seen her twice in your life, she doesn't feel like a grandma to you. And I mean, and so she was like, no, thank you. And so the grandma wouldn't let it go. And she kept trying. Well, you're being rude. You're hurting my feelings. You're this. You're that. Instead of trying to, build a relationship with her, with a kid.
She's trying to guilt her.
Yeah. And so it kept on and kept on. And everybody thought it was fine until they hear a blood-curdling scream. They all run, and they see the little girl with blood in her mouth. Grandma's got blood in her face. I'm not saying the little girl didn't go too far, but Grandma cornered her in a corner.
And the girl bit her?
Bit her on the nose.
Lord.
And so now she's a little demon, and I'm like, no. She was told that her body was hers.
It wasn't sexual, but she was forcing herself on that little girl.
And the little girl had told her time and again.
And I got news for you. You come into this house, and you don't know these dogs, and you corner one,
they'll bite you.
They're going to bite you.
Yep.
And I feel like the little girl felt. I mean, maybe she shouldn't have bit her on the face, okay, but she said,
How many fucking times do you have to tell a fucking adult?
Get out. And what adult corners a child like that? That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, she had to be all up in her face for her to bite her on the nose.
Yeah.
And
especially after she said how many times respectfully, no thank you, you can keep your candy.
Yeah, I mean, and like the parents saw that part of the interaction and they didn't see anything problematic and they thought the grandma took it, but she just wouldn't let up and she got her alone and she scared the little girl, I guess. And I mean, I never bit anybody on the nose, but I felt like that as a child at times, like.
That's weird. Why would she get her alone and corner her? That's
because she knew that because everybody saw the little girl say, no thank you, you can keep your candy. And like the mom said, everybody acknowledged the little girl didn't do it in a snarky way. She was just like, no thank you. And so everybody else assumed, all the other adults assumed that was the end of it. But not for grandma. Grandma, who's essentially a stranger to this child.
Well, it sounds like grandma got what the fuck she deserved.
I totally think so too. And then apparently it's become this huge crack in the family. Like there's half the people are over here and half the people are over here going, Granny got what she deserved, and the other half are going, no, that little girl's a monster. Well, I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
Well, if you think my little girl's a monster, then we don't need to have anything to do with you.
My little girl told you got her in a vulnerable position. She was scared. Did she maybe overreact? Okay, I'll give you that. But caused it.
But that adult knew that she was putting that little girl in an uncomfortable position.
The adult was the one forcing the issue and making the little girl uncomfortable. And we tell her, you can't have it both ways. You can't tell them your body is your body and nobody can touch it without your permission unless it's your grandma. That didn't work that way. So I was like, no, I don't think you're the asshole, and I don't think your little girl's the asshole. I just wondered what y'all would think.
I totally agree with that.
I think Grandma deserved what she got.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Grandma will stick her nose in somebody else's face again when they say no thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, how many times did the little girl have to say no thank you before Grandma got the fucking idea?
Yeah. I mean, 6 years old. And, some people were questioning the parent, okay, well, I'm assuming your little girl goes to school or daycare or whatever. Does she have a history of biting people? And her mom said, no, she's never been.
No, because people don't corner her and get in her face.
But, people were trying to,
see,
she was like, no, she hasn't bit anybody since she was 2 and got in trouble for that at daycare. And we told her that hurts people. We don't.
She wasn't doing that out of anything other than self-defense.
Yeah, it wasn't like she was having a fit and that's her thing.
It kind of makes me wonder if Grandma had her arms
where she couldn't move.
And she couldn't push her away or something.
Yeah, that was her only.
Yeah, that was her only defense.
I don't know. But
and she said no, probably more than once.
Yeah, if she'd been, because they said maybe 45 minutes from the no thank you, you can keep your candy, to the biting incident that put the kibosh on the gathering. But I mean, I'm like, no, I don't think the little girl, maybe she was a little aggressive in the bite because they said she was dripping blood. I think it's hilarious. But no, I mean, if we're going to tell our kids that their body's their body, then we have to walk behind that. We have to back them up when they defend themselves. So anyway, I just wonder what y'all would think.
Yeah, no, Grandma got what the fuck she deserved.
Yep.
Bet Grandma will think about it next time, won't she?
I bet when somebody says no thank you, she'll be like, okay, fair enough.
I like to keep my nose.
It just reminds me of Alexis on that one ghost hunt.
Oh, Jesus.
When Foil Hat wanted to hypnotize her, she's like, no thank you, don't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. And I remember at the time we were all like, it was funny, but at the same time, I was really proud of her because I don't think, and God knows I'm not a shrinking violet, but I don't know at her age if I'd have said that. And so I was really proud that she had the wherewithal, and I thought, our generation has done a lot of things different and wrong, but I think that's one thing we have done right. If we've taught our children, that they have autonomy and that they
I've always told her, if you don't want to do something, you don't have to do it. Don't let anybody pressure you into doing stuff. And I was really proud of her.
And I think that's why so many in our generation, things happen to us because we were told, we were more concerned about making other people not feel uncomfortable than we were putting ourselves, and there's have you seen that thing on TikTok to don't be nice to men who creep you out? It's a little, little people will teach their little daughters. It's like a sing-song game. You don't be nice to men who creep you out. Don't be nice to men who creep you out. And I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing, you know.
The other day we were making coffee, and I don't know why this came up, and I was like, when I was, I don't know, maybe I was like 13, I was in this FFA thing.
Future Farmers?
No, FHA thing,
sorry.
Okay.
Homemakers.
And we had this star event, so we went to this college, and I'm not sure what was going on. There was something going on with scores, and I was a runner, and I had to take the scores from the classrooms to the counting center or whatever. And it was a group of adults. Like I said, I have no fucking clue what was going on. I was just told, take this here. I was like, okay.
Sounds like some sort of
yet another job taken by technology.
And I went into this room, and it was a bunch of, older, not all of them, but older people. They weren't high school kids or anything. And I was asked to go get coffee. So now, at 13, I have to wander around this fucking college campus not knowing where the hell I am. But I finally get coffee. I take it back to the room, and I'm giving people their coffee. And this one guy, and I'm still mortified by it. He's like, can you just swirl your finger in there to sweeten it up for me? And I'm like,
yeah.
I mean,
like where you go, like,
I'm like, why would somebody say that to a little girl? Ugh.
Oh, that's so gross.
And I told Chris, I'm like, he probably wasn't this old, but I want to say he was probably like in his 50s.
Ew.
It was just
saying that
creepy.
To a 13-year-old girl though, that's kind of that's a little bit of a pedo vibe.
This is one of those things like it's just burned into my brain.
Yeah, that's just fucking disgusting.
Don't be polite to men who creep you out. Don't be polite to men who creep you out. Don't be polite to them. It's not your job to comfort men. Don't be polite to men who creep you out.
And I mean, but yeah, like, ugh. Because I mean, I bet if you ask every girl, there's things like that from when they were very young that you didn't know exactly why it made you uncomfortable, but you knew it was ooky.
Oh my God.
I can think of so many.
My grandma and pop were friends with this couple. My pop was a truck driver, and this guy was a truck driver, so that's how they knew each other. And grandma and his wife became friends, so we'd go over there all the time. And her husband...
he had that creepy vibe.
Like, I'd be sitting there playing with, like, her grandkids' toys or something. He'd just be sitting in his recliner just staring at me.
That makes me
And I was so uncomfortable. So I was always next to Grandma when he was around. And years later, when I was grown up, me and my Aunt Kathy were talking about it. And I had mentioned him. She was like, oh my God, he gave me the same creepy vibes. He would just sit there and stare at me. And I was like, ooh.
Like, I remember my dad was
and
friends.
then they ended up raising their grandchildren. I always wondered. Yeah.
That's not good. My dad was friends with this old man. They like were hunting buddies and stuff like that. And he was always so like flirting with my sister, and then like making like, pretty thing, just like you like put your finger in there, it's so sweet, and you're like, you at that age you don't really know why it makes you so uncomfortable, but you're just like, it makes my skin crawl and makes me want to.
I think that was probably my first odd experience. Well, no, I guess the grandma's.
Yeah.
And that happened when I was little. He just always gave me the creeps. But, like, that interaction when I was, like, 13, I think, was the first time, like, with an adult.
And think about that. How many years, and you still remember the way it made you feel and the way it made you,
But, yeah, growing up through school, I still had boys my age who were just... They were awful. Their mamas didn't tell them to keep their hands to themselves.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think you can go too far, but I think it's a good thing we teach our kids that now. Like, nobody gets to touch your body without your permission. You don't owe physical affection to anyone. You can be polite, because this little girl was polite. No, thank you. And then you get your nose bit off, and that's just how that went.
I remember another time in my senior year, I was just so... I mean, stuff had happened through school, but this one was just so shocking to me. It was snow and ice. We went to school, and I was, like, on the sidewalk trying to get to my car, trying to get to the grass so I didn't slip on the sidewalk. And these two black guys were walking up, and the one said, hey, if you fall down, I'm not going to help you up. I'm going to just stick my dick in your mouth.
Oh my God.
And the other guy was with him was just as shocked.
Even
as
the
I
guy
was.
knew.
He's like, I am so sorry he said that. I'm so sorry. And then he kind of tried to shuffle him away, but it was just so shocking to me.
Like, just so overt,
Yeah, I'm just like, I didn't even know this guy. I mean, we didn't have classes together. He was just some stranger, and I was just